Oh, okay, I'm back. Oh, that worked. We're live.
We're live.
No, something's not right.
I heard it on I heard it live on the stream. Yeah, they heard us. JJ has confirmation.
Okay, well, like, talk to the people.
Talking to, yeah, sorry. Yeah, now that you can actually hear what's up. I don't know if you heard any of that, but we have a packed show. May the 4th be with you. Revenge of the 5th. We're going to be talking about the Obi-Wan trailer drop. We were going to be making some live adult blue milk, and we were debating if we should call it the milk of Mos Eisley or Mos Eisley milk. And we were going to talk about our backyard drive-in with our Dos Incredibles international correspondent all the way from Cork, Ireland, Michael Brendan Hayes. He's on. He's ready. He's a Night of the Living Dead expert.
Is he still there?
He's still there.
I am still here.
He's still here. So
loud and clear.
Yeah, I mean, it looks good. The shot looks great. Looks nice and shiny.
There he is.
There he is.
So that's why everything broke. People don't understand broke because we're trying to
'cause
have
we're-
a conversation with somebody from Scotland.
We literally
Ireland, I'm sorry.
We literally
Ireland.
funneled in Ireland right here.
Ireland.
So, yep, that what better way to give you an intro than just literally to have you crash the show. But he's your friend. We've done a couple of shows with Brendan. We did a great Scream show. We did the phenomenal Halloween show as well. I think it's going to be timeless because Brendan is in the town. If you listen to that podcast, where basically I guess he would be the antagonist was from, right? Colonel Cochrane was Cork, Ireland.
Yeah, he would have been born in the county where I live, but he would have moved on to another county when he was a young child. So his roots are in my county in Cork, Dan O'Hurley.
God, that's it. Yes. So anytime we have the go-to of the special horror shows, we make sure we involve Brendan. And this week obviously was a very special one because it was the season 4 premiere of The Last Drive-In with Joe Bob Briggs and Darcy the Mail Girl. And we celebrated this by making our very own backyard drive-in so we can enjoy the double feature known as Night of the Living Dead and Anthropophagus.
Can you say that again, please?
Anthropophagus, also known as The Beast and of the Grim Reaper. And if you've seen this flick, it's her sister, right? Mia Farrow's sister,
I don't know.
Tisa.
I'm not sure.
Tisa Farrow.
I don't think
was
she would
in
admit it, though,
Yeah,
if it
she
was-
would not
it actually
admit it.
was.
So, Brendan, I don't know if I know you said you're not familiar with the Anthropophagus, but you are familiar with Night of the Living Dead. But before we start, we got to just do a quick. Let's test the close-up cam and let's just go through what it looked like in Dos Incredibles' backyard. If we see there, we had some cool shots. There she is right there, Tisa Farrow. All right.
Talking through it.
Yep. And I'm just doing a little scrolling gimmick here. There is Brendan, that's the one that since we really want to focus on Night of the Living Dead, we're going to basically tell you what this dude here did. So this dude right here went digging around like he was an OBGYN right after this scene here, and he pulled out a fetus and started eating it like it was a payata. Is that what he called it? Like yeah, it was pretty gnarly, man. It was pretty gnarly. But as you can see, I mean, we did enjoy it. We had actually a eerie night here in Austin. If you see that, it was kind of perfect with that gray sky. Give you the shot of the screen because this was basically a live house show that we're going to be doing on the spots.
It looks brilliant.
Yeah, she went swimming, of course. That was the Jaws scene that was in there. But yeah, we had Darcy. We had some good shots. It was a good time. It was a long one. It was a long night, but it was a fun night. But what was more important is this film that we're going to talk about, the 1968 classic Night of the Living Dead.
Jeff, I feel like you're still shook from the technical difficulties.
Yeah,
We're going to be we're good. We're good. We got everything sorted.
yeah. Well, no, we're good. And I'm just
We're all good.
yammering on. So, but Brendan, what do you tell us a little bit about your experience? Like, I know for me, I was telling you, Mario, this is pretty much what my mom considered the Blair Witch Project, of just like the word of mouth for Night of the Living Dead. Like, as I started growing up, like, no, you can't watch that. That's too terrifying.
Yeah, I don't think anybody in my family even would consider watching it back then. Like, it was just not anything anybody would watch. That and The Exorcist.
Oh yeah, The Exorcist. Like, once The Exorcist came, it kind of overrode what Night of the Living Dead was in the horror community. Brendan, what from the international perspective, tell us about the reputation of Night of the Living Dead.
One of my first experiences of watching or hearing about Night of the Living Dead was actually the Tom Savini remake. And that would have been back in 1990, I think that came out. And
Yeah, that was 1990, yep.
And prior to that, in the 80s, as a child, I would have seen, and I should have seen, Dawn of the Dead. and loved it. And then as I grew older and became more of a film buff and film fan, you learn the genesis of all this is back in 1968 from George A. Romero. And it's just for its time, it's an incredible film, and there's so many interesting stories attached to it. Made on a budget of $114,000. It is rejected by so many distributors because of a plethora of different reasons. They didn't like the black and white. They didn't like the idea of, spoiler alert, the protagonist being killed at the end, and they wanted that to be changed. But Romero and Russo, etc., decided absolutely not. And then the biggest one of all, and the biggest story attached to this movie, is the fact that the distributors, Walter Reed, when they changed it from The Flesh Eaters, which was it wasn't the original title. Romero wanted to call it House of Anubis.
Oh, yes, we did. Joe Bob talked about that.
House of what, though? House of Anubis?
Anubis.
Anubis is an Egyptian god who has something to do with the dead. But I think Romero thought it might have been a bit pretentious and nobody would have understood it. So when they were changing it to Night of the Living Dead, they omitted the copyright. And it wasn't noticed until a few years later. And to this day, I believe Night of the Living Dead is completely public domain.
It is.
So if you see any movie with Night of the Living Dead playing in the background and some TV, they haven't paid a red cent for it.
Yeah, and Joe Bob explained that it had something to do with the film stock, right? That the way it got cut off too.
No, what happened was it was called Night of the Flesh Eaters, and they had the copyright mark on that title, that piece of film on the title. And when they changed the title, they snipped that piece of film, they snipped it out and replaced it with the one with the other title, and it didn't have a copyright mark on it.
And that was it. And yeah, because like if you go to their Wikipedia page, you can watch the whole movie. It's right there. It's right there under the Wikipedia page.
We could watch it right now and just put it on and play the whole thing.
And we finally would not anger the algorithm.
And it made 263 times its budget. Yes.
Yeah, it's incredible.
It made 30 million, which would be the equivalent of about 247 million today. And Romero would say that he saw very, very little money in terms of profit.
Yeah, from the actual profit from that one. Obviously his career, he was a made man in a sense. After, eventually, again, they talked about this on the show, he did not embrace, because he wasn't a horror movie director per se, right? That was just his style.
He found it hard to be a director. He's gone on record saying that he found it hard to be stern and direct with these people on set, because as he said himself, there was too much democracy in the production of it, and a lot of the cast had different hats, including the woman who plays Mr. Cooper's wife in The Cellar.
Yes.
She was doing makeup effects on people as well. And ironically, as we're speaking about makeup effects, that scene where they're eating what looks like human remains after the truck is burned out, that's actually some kind of ham shanks with chocolate sauce. And the extras were so nauseated looking that they didn't even have to put makeup on them. So that's an interesting trivia. But,
yeah, that's interesting because, you're talking about Marilyn Eastman as Helen Cooper.
Marilyn Eastman.
Yeah, and it said Eastman also played a female ghoul eating an insect. So, again, I guess it was like the low-budget pro wrestling shows when, like, hey, we're going to need you to work 3 times. You got a mask.
That was also the name of the guy in the Anthropomorphis. It was George Eastman.
Oh, you're right.
And that was his fake name. He just took that name because it was the name of the film stock.
Oh, that's right, because he had his real name was actually way better. Was it no Magda? I'll have to look it up. Yeah, George Eastman. Yep, there it is. Oh, Luigi Montefiore. Montefiore. Yeah, I'm not even. Yeah, I tried. I failed.
One of the most interesting things I find about this movie is the fact that Dwayne Jones it's 1968. As you can imagine, the civil rights movement has barely been passed. It's in its infancy after Lyndon Baines Johnson rushed it in after JFK's assassination. So there's still going to be this racial prejudice there. And according to all sources, Dwayne Jones is the first lead black actor or African American actor in any movie. And he, as Marilyn Eastman said, was a tortured individual. I mean, this man died at 51 years of age. And when Carol Hardman, who plays Harry Cooper, when he talks about him, he has since passed away himself, but whenever he talked about him, he would well up and get very emotional. So
that's pretty young.
Very young. He died of heart failure, but it's groundbreaking in so many ways. It's the godfather of zombie films. We would have no Walking Dead or Resident Evil without Night of the Living Dead. And it broke barriers when you had someone like Dwayne Jones taking on the lead role. And George Romero would have said that the initial character was supposed to have been an arrogant truck driver, and he never envisioned him as either Caucasian or African American or whatever. And Dwayne Jones got this part on merit and merit alone, because he went for the audition in Pennsylvania, where they shot it, in Pittsburgh somewhere, and it was just decided. I don't think any of these people involved in the film ever considered his race in any negative connotation.
No,
they were just very happy to work with him.
No, his presence, any scene that he did, his presence on there was incredible. Like he felt like a leading man when he was on there, which I did not know. He went on to appear in another Long Island classic, Beat Street, in 1984. Now, after the show, I'm going to have to look that up.
Bro, your production company should be Long Island Classics.
Yeah, Long Island.
You should copyright that now.
Just right now, or forget to do it and let it go in the public domain and let it live on forever. Because obviously, it did this film a favor. Because like It's a Wonderful Life, also public domain, and that re-showing of it really is what helped keep it alive. Ironically, for Night of the Living Dead, was that ability. For me, that opening scene was incredible, and it still to this day it creates a perfect ambiance. Like, you just know when they're coming to get you, Barbara. Stop it! You're ignorant. That was it, right?
I have to say, it's one of my favorite lines in any film.
Oh yeah,
I love it.
It's iconic.
They're coming to get you, Barbara.
Yeah. Oh, man.
They're coming, Barbara.
Yes.
And if there's a scene in Shaun of the Dead where Sean's mother is called Barbara. And when Sean and the Nick Frost character decide that they're going to go and rescue his mother from the zombies, although you're not supposed to say zombies, Nick Frost's character says, "We're coming to get you, Barbara."
Oh, that's right. Yeah. Again, that's it's influenced so many filmmakers, so many. Yeah. I mean, if you have any friends named Barbara and you're going to say it at least once. Look, here comes one of them now.
My grandmother's name was Barbara, ironically.
Oh yeah. So you had to have said it, but that really set the tone of this movie. That, again, the most important thing is not always about the jump scares, right? It's not always about the jump scares. It is setting the ambiance. We worked hard to set that ambiance in our backyard drive-in because it's just the feel, right? You have to have that feel, and that just starting off in the cemetery and a slow burn, and then when he, Ben came onto the scene, again, like I said, he was so dominating, and he just gobbled up every scene he was in. So that ending, when he was shot, to even I remember watching it probably way younger than I should have. That was absolutely shocking. You, like you said, any other ending probably wouldn't have done, because that really drove home that, don't forget, this is a horror movie, and it's not going to have a happy ending.
And ironically, the opening scene in the graveyard was actually the last scene they shot.
Oh, really?
So when everything else was in the can, they went and they shot the cemetery scene.
Well, again, that's where the magic was made. So Mario, I remember you were saying that you really, you kind of got into the horror movie scene a little bit late, right? Like you said, it wasn't something like growing up that it was part of your regular regimen.
Yeah, no, I was scared of horror movies as a child. I didn't want to go see them, so I didn't really see them until I got older, like late high school and into college, and I started to really get into them. But like the thing, I'm talking about Night of the Living Dead and what's scary about it. I think that when we were watching it the other night, and I was telling you at this point, the thing that really stood out to me is one thing that makes it scary is it does something innovative that no movie had done before. I think it gives it sort of a leg up, where it was using the news footage as sort of like
right
to sort of like build out the story. And people, people in that time were not entirely all. There was not documentaries yet; they weren't a thing, so people didn't really get what reality TV, any kind of that stuff, what it was. So I think those scenes are particularly scary when you hear the guy on the television telling you where to go for safety and what's going on. I think that added an element that just really elevates the whole thing.
Yeah, I agree with you, because one of the newscasters was the Chili Billy Cardilli as himself. So he's literally was a real newscaster from Pittsburgh that they put in that movie, right?
That's how you do it. If you want to get good news stories posted about you, you hire the news guy to be in your movie.
Yeah.
He was actually reluctant to take that position. He said that he was just too busy. And Romero said to him, come along down, come down on Sunday morning and we'll get the whole thing wrapped, and, we won't have you hanging around. And unfortunately, he did come down and he was hanging around. I think like any typical movie set, you're going to be hanging around because people are going to be getting lighting right. People are going to be getting all the props right, etc. But he's very glad. I think he might still be alive, but the documentary that I watched about it, he's very glad to have been a part of it. And he nearly wasn't, but he added a great element for the exposition of the film.
And there's a lot of these great films that, a lot of these performers considered throwaway films, and maybe they would hurt their career, and now they're getting a second life at a career with just traveling the circuits and being basically worshipped as like these cinema idols, so to speak, up from a lot of these movies. We see it like when we went to the cult classic convention. I mean, people are just like relish these. Again, it has a lot to do with the repeated viewing. These people start to feel like them.
I think, yeah, but I think people, because the whole nostalgia is big, and now you've got YouTube, which is big. Thank you, YouTube, for putting on our show. But like, you can rewatch things and revisit clips and make memes about little scenes from old movies. So just gives things a new life.
Oh, sorry, that was me.
What happened?
Oh, I knocked the camera over.
Oh.
No big deal. All right, keep talking.
So go ahead. Yeah, but like, you can make a living now traveling the circuit and selling your autograph and doing autograph shows. And I mean, I don't know. It was a fun vibe at Cult Classics Convention, and I was not expecting much out of the festival.
No, it really was. Again, it had a weird science reunion, but there's a lot of people that really look at, the 80s as like this peak cinema where a lot of it was garbage. But we got to remember a lot of this stuff, Brendan, that was a perfect way to put it. Calling this the Godfather of cinema, a lot of it came born of these risky filmmakers that were doing things that weren't guarantees, which it doesn't exist anymore. Let's just call it. It doesn't exist anymore. Like, it's got to be an IP, and then the people that are controlling the IP are being controlled, and it's not necessarily even respecting the IP, right? And it's just like, so now if you're like, oh, okay, they would never make something that's unique like this anymore because they're like, no one's ever heard of it before. Let's just do the requels or let's do something that's like it. But then they don't honor that legend. But so to me, it's just like that's what made 70s and 80s like such a magical time with film. They were just rolling the dice, man, and like, okay, let's scratch together some money and let's see what we can do.
Romero would say as a child that his uncle would have bought a lot of different cameras and wouldn't have known how to use them. And he figured out how to use them himself. And today, if one was to buy any kind of camera, Blackmagic, Canon, whatever the case may be, if they had any difficulties at all, they can just go on YouTube and put in how to do this and how to do that. But a lot of his stuff was self-taught. He was in college and he was doing some kind of art degree. And there's one story where he said he was with one of his college friends and they were supposed to paint this nude. And instead of him painting the nude, he was just drawing a picture of the Ben-Hur poster. He had no interest in this, but he wanted to make films. And he said that he made these features, quote, which were, probably rubbish, he thought. But he had that passion. He just wanted to make films, and he wanted to scare people. And that's what he did. And he did it hell or high water because it took 10 years for him to go on and make Dawn of the Dead, because it's fair to say that Night of the Living Dead was not an overnight classic. They put an awful lot of hard work into promoting that movie.
No, it was by no means an overnight classic at all. But it was inadvertently making history, right? Because let's talk a little bit about the Carl Hardman character. Let me see. His name was Harry Cooper. Mario, you were laughing
Harry
about this.
Cooper.
You were basically like, this dude just wants to watch Fox News, right? He had that vibe that he actually... And I don't think, again, there was no intentional racial tension built into this film. I think it maybe happened inadvertently, and it really told a story of just basically you had this character that was not going to let the Ben character come in here and take control, in a way trying to keep him down and like, we're not doing it your way, even though it makes sense. We're going to be doing it my way. And it added that racial tension to it inadvertently, I think. But you're right. I mean, it just happened to be
I think it adds the racial tension by not bringing it up.
Right.
Because this is the late 60s, USA. It's there. By not bringing it up, it actually draws more attention to it. That's my take on it.
Yeah.
It's like, if you think about it from an artistic perspective, it's just like, it's a given that something like that would be said or whatever, or things could go that way. I think by not bringing it up, it actually makes it more of an issue, and that's how it seems inadvertent,
Yeah. And he just happened to look like somebody that would have been, racist at that time, I guess, right?
And like, Ben looks chill and reliable and trustworthy. He comes in that sweater, like he just got off work. He looks like he smokes the good cigarettes. So like, he just seems like a cool dude. He seems like a lead.
He absolutely does. Yeah, and I think that's what made that ending so stunning. That you felt like he was able to overcome, and ironically, the idea that wasn't his idea ended up being the idea that he needed to do, but he was able to overcome, and then he wasn't able to overcome. And to this day, I mean, you had to keep watching the end credits, right? When those titles were rolling, and you basically watched now the journey of the body of Ben. It was, to me, it was like watching real, like Time Life took these pictures from the 60s, and you were seeing this happen. And I think that's what really helped it.
And Romero would say that there was absolutely no intent whatsoever to have any social commentary about any kind of racial prejudice in it. And if you think of the Carl Hardman character, Harry Cooper, he's actually not a bad guy. He's trying to protect his daughter down in the basement.
Yes.
And he thinks she's sick. he has no idea that she's going to transform into this flesh-eating ghoul or whatever other term they're using. They're not saying zombie, but that's why. And of course, in many ways, and people will argue, he was dead right.
Yeah.
Stay in the basement. That's where it's safe.
Yeah, exactly. It ended up that his idea was right, and he would just they didn't listen to him.
Well, let's just call. I mean, nobody in this movie is outright terrible. You know, I think all of their ideas are pretty much arguably they could have been right. And I think what the main villain here is like, who's wrong? It's the angry mob, right? Outside that ends up taking everybody out.
Yeah. No, you're right. There wasn't anybody, and that's what made it work. The realism made it work. If you got 5 people in a room in a terrifying situation, you are going to get 5 different answers on how are we going to survive this, and everybody, because they're coming from a place of fear when they're trying to think, and that's going to change everything. What do you think about the black and white aspect? You know, when I was talking about, the Harry character, he literally looked like somebody that would have been a character in the Twilight Zone, which, we know that's my favorite show.
Everybody looks like a character from the Twilight Zone, but especially the ones that are non-actors. Everybody, essentially the angry mob, that's all like non-actor. When I say non-actors, they were all non-professional actors that were in the movie. They hadn't really done anything, but like they wanted to be actors. The people that are the angry mob are just like friends. You know what I mean? Like the guy was like, they're all messed up.
That was
like that line.
Yeah, that was a great line.
An excellent actor couldn't deliver that line that way.
Dude, I wish you can find that line. Although I think we should play the "We're Coming to Get You, Barbara," because we're not going to get in trouble because we can do it, right?
Absolutely.
Public domain.
Yeah, it's public domain. Which, who knew that would be? It feels like it was made for the right reasons, and then the universe put it right where it needed to be to succeed, to create this genre that we all know and love because it was in the public domain. But Brendan, you think it would have been different if it was in color?
There is actually a version on YouTube of it. It's colorized. I don't know who did it, and I watched a piece of it recently, but no, I prefer the black and white.
Yeah.
It gives me Twilight Zone vibes, and and ironically, as well, as we're on the black and white thing, that's why a lot of the distributors didn't want to use it. It was 1968. They were saying to themselves, why are we going backwards? Why are we going to black and white?
Yeah, but when you think about it, that's another interesting thing about the movie is like it's black and white, which seems like a throwback, but also kind of progressive at the same time. So it's doing 2 different things at the same time.
Yeah.
And today we have a plethora of different films which have chosen to go black and white for multitude of different reasons, just to be artistic. The one that rolls off the top of my head in terms of horror, and it's not a very good one, and I watched bits and pieces of it, is The Human Centipede 2.
Was that in black and white?
It was, and I watched some of it, and I just tell you, it's a horrific film. No. A bit like that Anthropophagus thing. No, I would be watching it again.
Oh man, yeah, that film was like a whole nother level. So originally too, I was reading a little bit about this, and I remember Joe Bob, which if you haven't subscribed to Shudder, we don't have a promo code, and I know, Brendan, you can't get it over there yet, unless I guess you would need to get one of those VPNs and get it. But
I'd have to get a VPN, yeah.
Yeah, I highly would recommend that streaming service is phenomenal. But anyway, Joe Bob, he's just on his game, man. He's just on point. And when we met him, they're so passionate about this, and then the backstories that they give on all this horror history is great. But like we had no idea. It was like originally it was co-written as like a horror comedy, and then they wanted to do like an alien gimmick too, and then they wanted to do the Egyptian god gimmick. I mean, there were so many. They really didn't even land on what it was going to kind of be, and then it was like I had no idea that it was kind of inspired by the Omega Man, right? Was that Charleston Heston?
Which one was inspired by Omega Man?
Night of the Living Dead.
Really?
Yeah, remember Joe Bob was talking about that, and I was like, Brendan, I don't know if you knew that or not, but I was like,
I did. Romero would actually say that he, quote, kind of ripped off the Omega Man idea and made it his own. So he's quite open about that. You know, he was when he was alive, certainly. So yeah, I was aware of that. And then of course, if we're talking about the Omega Man, the loosely based on what's it called, I Am Legend.
oh, I Am Legend, yeah.
Probably one of the most awful zombie films I've ever seen in my life.
Well, don't worry.
Simply
Something tells me that is now suddenly in development hell. Slap. So I don't think you're gonna have to worry about the sequel coming onto that. But speaking of sequels, though, obviously, Night of the Living Dead. There's not many films that can capitalize on the feeling, the magical feeling that a sequel can come from the original. But Dawn of the Dead did it. Are we all in agreement on that? I mean, Dawn of the Dead
100%.
was also a classic. If Night of the Living Dead was a 60s classic, Dawn of the Dead was a 70s classic.
And I have to say, hats off to Zack Snyder for the remake. The remake was absolutely top notch.
Yeah.
He did a stellar job on that.
Yeah,
But
you know, he's got balls, man.
He did his own thing with it, and it came out good. They could have just called it maybe something else, and it would have done way better.
Yeah, because
Mall of the Dead.
Mall of the Dead would have been great.
You've got a huge hit.
Oh, can you imagine if you just call it? It's like, yeah, it's inspired by, but we're calling Mall. Oh man, you should have booked that one. I love that title. That's awesome. Well, technically, we can make that and just make it a sequel to Night of the Living Dead, right?
Yeah, but
and then of course
Mall of the Living Dead.
Mall of the Living Dead.
And then of course you've got Day of the Dead and Land of the Dead and Diary of the Dead. It's unfortunate that towards the latter end of the series that the films started to become poorer and poorer.
Brennan, have you seen Land of the Dead? What's your Land of the Dead review?
I've seen it a while back, I'm sure. I'm a bit confused now because I think the last one I remember seeing was Diary of the Dead, which I wasn't fond of.
Yeah, that's the found footage one, but that was
that's
not very
it.
good.
Yes, that's yeah.
Land of the Dead, I think, is pretty good.
Okay, I think I might have that somewhere. I might check that out. But definitely for me, Dawn of the Dead and Day of the Dead are definitely up there, and Dawn of the Dead more so, I have to say. I wasn't majorly gone on the idea of them having this zombie, Bubba, trying to be intellectual and sophisticated for a zombie. But one of the most memorable scenes for me in that film actually is where the hands come out of the wall and just scare the absolute shit.
And then the girl, she throws her arms up like, woo. Yeah, that's a really good gif. And I know it was pretty cool. What was his name in that? Bub? The zombie they were experimenting on.
Bubba.
Like when he put in the headphones on, it was just like... So if for some reason, it always did have an undertone of comedy, even if it was unintentional.
Yes. Yeah.
A lot of comedy. It satire.
Yeah, satire. Yeah.
It did have that undertone of comedy, and maybe that's why I didn't like it, whereas Dawn of the Dead was far more tense and suspenseful, and you, again, had this group of people who were... I don't know if you've ever heard of Big Brother. It was this TV series.
Oh, yeah,
I'm not even sure whether they're still running.
We have multiple seasons here.
Oh, do you? Okay. Well, you know, the dynamics between people trapped in an area. So you've gone from a small house out in the countryside, a Night of the Living Dead, to a shopping mall. And even in the shopping mall, the dynamics are still poor because people are just rubbing each other up the wrong way. And then, of course, you've got the motorcycle gang that come in and invade the place. Tom Savini was one of those guys.
Tom Savini was great in that. That was, I think that was my first exposure to seeing him. Like, and then as time went on, you realize, oh my God, that's the guy from Dawn of the Dead. as you know, he started making a name for himself in that industry. But that was
my first exposure to seeing him was at the strip club with Greg Nicotero.
Oh, in real life though.
I told you that story, right?
Yeah. No, tell it again. But yeah, I think that was an IRL story. Go for it.
Yeah, was
Tell us that.
I was with my buddy at the strip club. We were just hanging out, having a beer, doing the strip club thing, and we looked across. I looked across, and the table across, I saw it was Tom Savini and Greg Nicotero sitting together having beers at the strip club. And then, like, you know, the girls come up and they're like, "You want to dance or whatever?" I was like, "No, but you know who's that is over there? That's Greg Nicotero and Tom Savini." Is like, "Oh, okay. Are they famous?" Yeah. And that was like just completely just like, you know, whatever, fanboying out. But like nobody could give a shit. But they were just in there, obviously, just to be discreet in the dark. I don't know what it was at the time when Austin was shooting a lot of Quentin Tarantino movies and
Oh yeah,
you know, that stuff. But yeah, saw them both there, and you can't talk to them at the strip club. You can't be able to say, "Hey, bros, you've inspired me." They're obviously there because they don't want to be disturbed or whatever. Right?
Right. Yeah. No, they're for flesh eating. They're there for a different type of flesh eating, if you know what I mean.
Exactly.
Get that. Get you some. Get you some. You know it, but yeah. So I don't. Tom Savini. But we were talking about how it had an undertone of tension, and maybe this was just in the craziness that was the Gretler household in Long Island. And I told you, my brother, it was my exposure to all these horror movies, and he would fast forward to all the kill scenes, and he'd fast forward to all the gruesome scenes. We're going to talk to a therapist about it, but he's fine. Everything's fine. But he kept rewinding the scene when that guy got the top of his head chopped off from the helicopter multiple times. And he was laughing so hard. It reminded me of the scene from The Naked Gun when they came out laughing hysterically, and then they pan up and you see they're watching Platoon. And you're like, why are you laughing like that? It was the same thing, but it was just like he kept rewinding it again and again just
because it's a cool effect.
It was a great
It's a good effect for what they
really
did, right?
was.
And like Tom Savini was real specific because if you watch that effect, it's not like he gets his head cut off and blood shoots everywhere. It's no, it comes off and two very specific squirts of blood come out of the side. And it's like, oh, that's where the arteries are.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
No,
So it's a good effect.
It was very precise, and it had that split-second thing of when you hear about when any kind of like animal decapitation where, you know, in Faces of Death, when they show that and it shows him running around. That's what it reminded me of. Like the zombie didn't even realize that he had his head lopped off, and that just like blew me away. That it was just like, it wasn't supposed to be funny, but it was very Quentin Tarantino that it wasn't supposed to be funny, but man, you just couldn't stop laughing.
Yeah,
like that scene. Yeah, like that scene in Pulp Fiction where Vincent Vega accidentally shoots your guy in the back of the car.
Poor Marvin. R.I.P. Marvin. What do you think? I don't even have an opinion. Well, you gotta have an opinion. You think, pow! And man, I think everybody in the theater was just like, what just happened? That first time reaction just blew you away. So, and this is the stuff, you know, Tarantino and Brendan, we're gonna have you back on here. I know we had a plan to do a Tarantino show, but we kind of pivoted because
we should still do that show.
Yeah, no, we absolutely should do that show. But we, you know your feeling of Night of the Living Dead. So I don't know how many. So there's Night of the Living Dead, Dawn of the Dead, Day of the Dead, and then Land of the Dead and Dire of the Dead. That's the canon 5, right?
Then there's Survival of the Dead. Here's what I think. I think it's you've got your first 3. You've got Night, you've got Dawn, you've got Day, and I think Land is a pretty good epilogue kind of closure one. I don't think it fits exactly in the trilogy, I would say, but I think it's a good one in there. I think the other 2 after that are, you know, George Romero had a mortgage.
Yeah. He had stuff to do. Yeah, and I remember when the diary, the found footage one, it seemed like it was a slam dunk to combine that, you know, just like they were going to do that with Jason, you know, at Camp Crystal Lake found footage. They were going to kind of do the same thing, like slam dunk. But, you know, George Romero, it was to inspire so many filmmakers and then inspire remakes based on his films that were all good. I mean, I think we're all in agreement that the Night of the Living Dead, you know, remake from 1990 was actually good. You know, the Dawn of the Dead remake by Zack Snyder being its own thing was good. And Shaun of the Dead is a classic as well. right? I mean, it's part of the Cornetto trilogy, but I mean, it was clearly inspired by that.
There is one thing that really bothers me about the remake of Night of the Living Dead by Tom Savini.
What's that?
And if you watch the cemetery scene at the beginning, when Johnny is killed, he falls onto the curb of a grave, and it's just quite evidently a dummy. And it's disappointing because Tom Savini is well known for his craft.
Yeah.
And just watch it again and watch that scene where Johnny is killed, and it looks awful. So I can't understand it. It looks rushed.
So you think it's snuck by some editor that they did?
I think Tom Savini got his budget cut like last minute. He has a lot of stories online. If you look at him, he was fighting with the producers the whole time. They were cutting his effects out. So I think he ended up not super happy with the final product himself. He had like a bigger aspiration for it.
But just go back and have a look at Johnny's death in the 1990 Night of the Living Dead, and it's bad. You know,
bad.
And the rest of the movie is great. I really enjoyed the rest of the movie. Tony Todd is great, and the supporting cast are great.
Tony Todd is phenomenal. Yeah. I just remember the big fat zombie falling onto that straight shot. That I just remember that as part of the trailer, and that was like, okay, yeah, I'm in. But it was 1990. I feel like film was trying to find itself again because we were just coming off the 80s and then the 90s, and grunge was coming with music. And I think film had to go through that too. And that's what gave us, Kevin Smith and Robert Rodriguez and Quentin Tarantino, where there was a little bit of a pivot point. But these guys were all inspired about all the stuff that we're talking about here. So Brendan, that covers Night of the Living Dead. Did you want to talk anything about? Do you want us to? I'm going to try to pitch you on Anthropophagus by reading you.
Oh,
yeah. So known as the Beast and the Grim Reaper. It's Italian horror. So right there, it's already cultured. Directed by Joe D'Amato, already cultured, and George Eastman, who starred in the film as the cannibal, and you got pedigree in there. It's Tisa Farrow, not Mia Farrow, not the mother of Satan, Tisa Farrow, right?
Mia Farrow's sister.
Yes, it's her sister. Yeah, and apparently her concern was she didn't want to be overshadowed by Mia, and obviously with Rosemary's Baby, she was, even though that was way earlier. But this film was described as having a noted place in the annals of the escalation of gore. If amongst fringe horror video audiences, it has been argued that the reason for its cult lies in the theme of cannibalism, hence consumption of humans, which lends itself to cult reception. But I can't say the word, Mario, and I don't know if you can say it, but when that scene happens, when he basically eats the unborn child, I was just like, what did we just... And that's, I think Joe Bob, he actually even cut at that part, and he's like, well, that's the scene we were talking about. Yeah, it was...
apart from that, which sounds awful.
Yeah.
I really don't... I find it very disturbing when children or animals are harmed in any way.
Well,
in any film. And I know it's been done, like Assault on Precinct 13. There was the shooting of a child, if you remember. It's very disturbing. Yeah, but like apart from that, was the movie actually any good?
No. Oh no.
Right, okay.
No, there's not. Was it Knock on Our Door? No, it was not good. Make no mistake. It was interesting to watch. It almost felt like, as film connoisseurs or film fans, we wanted to just do our homework.
That was me saying that the other guests are here.
Oh, they are here.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So, Brendan, I want to give you the final word, Night of the Living Dead, while we start to wrap you up. But thank you so much for being on here, and we're going to have you back on here live. And thank you for staying up, because I know it's like 1 a.m. in Cork, Ireland, and you got to go to work in a couple hours. So thank you so much for staying up and joining us on Dose Incredibles, because you are Dose Incredibles International.
I sure am.
All right.
Always a pleasure, I have to say, guys. I really enjoyed talking with you. I love the fact that we have this interest in horror films, that we can discuss them and we know so much about them. And there are a few people like that in my life. A lot of people aren't as passionate about horror films. I hate it when I have to try and pitch a horror film. Like, I watched X recently by Ty West. I absolutely loved it.
Oh, yes.
I tried to pitch it to some of my work colleagues, and they're like, "Oh, I hate horror films. I can't stand them." And I'm like, "Oh, God, yeah." So, I really, really enjoyed X.
Oh, yeah, it's phenomenal. We actually should, we've got to do a show on that, so.
But Night of the Living Dead is, like I said, the godfather of zombie movies. We would have nothing without this film. Rest in peace, George A. Romero. Absolutely the iconic horror director. And I just hope that because just my parting note here is, I wasn't a major fan of Army of the Dead by Zack Snyder. I did like Dawn of the Dead. So I'm hoping that somewhere along the lines, going forward, we'll see another really decent zombie movie, because I know Resident Evil, the remake, was absolute trash according to critics. So I want to see a really decent zombie movie coming our way anytime soon.
Yeah, I think they got to let it rest a little, but yeah, hopefully coming soon. So, okay, Brendan, thank you again for joining us. Get some rest. Do good work tomorrow. And we'll talk to you on soon.
Okay.
All right, Brendan, take care.
All the best, guys.
Yeah, and
good night, guys.
Take care. And here's a word from our sponsor.
You've got a thirst to win. Only one soda gives you that extra oomph you need to be your best. Oomph Cola, packed with ginseng, taurine, and Pop Rocks. With the power of Pop Rocks and Cola combined, your stomach lining will be ripped apart by tiny pockets of carbon dioxide. But not before sweet victory. Oomph Cola and Pop Rocks. The deadly soft drink with a taste that's fantastic.
it's lovely the way you make me feel like I'm wanted. Thank you. So here's a toast. Most beer lovers know, from one beer lover to another, Stroh's.
Great. Everything's working out fine, you see?
Sitcom theme songs.
That sounds amazing.
Yeah, that's what it's all about. So, yeah, so it's good that you're a triple threat though, like JJ was saying on there. So we're psyched because, like we were just talking about right before we came back on, like the Dose Incredible short. I'm Not Fucking Dead. We're going to try to launch it at the Joe Bob Drive-In Music Festival, and we're also going to try to play it in Fantastic Fest too. But I think when you read the script and you kind of you felt
He
the
hasn't
vibe.
read the script yet. I haven't sent it to
So
him
you
yet.
just kind of get. So this is going off the log line. So you just kind of.
I just pitched it to him at Chipotle.
Okay.
Yeah, and I was sold. That's how you sell me on it.
Yeah.
You buy me a taco at Chipotle, and I'm like, I'll do the score, dude.
Yeah. So did you have any of the corn salsa?
I didn't.
No. Cilantro lime rice though.
Yes.
Yeah,
And
of
my friend
course.
Phil, like, he was like against that rice. I guess he didn't want it.
He's an anti-rice guy.
He was into
Cilantro
the
rice.
cilantro rice.
Yeah.
Oh.
So, like, you were telling me, Jesse, though, the other time about, like, touring and stuff. You do a lot of touring. You play road shows. Like, you play in Mexico and stuff like that.
Yeah, everywhere. I've played in everywhere from all over Europe, like probably like 13 countries in Europe, and I've been to Australia, Peru, Mexico.
Oh, wow.
All over America several times. Most of these places, I've even been to Canada. Most of these places I've been to like 4 or 5 times or something.
That's awesome. I didn't know that you had the international touring, which is a whole different element than the national tour, right?
Yes, it's hard. You're
It's-
like fighting like jet lag, and you're flying everywhere. It's crazy.
Yeah. But do you feel like when you do that international travel that and you're coming from the US that you're kind of looked at different, that it automatically like raises your stature because now you're an entertainer, right? Or you're an artist and an entertainer, but you're plying your craft and you had to travel over an ocean to do so.
Yeah.
And I feel like that adds just like, oh wait, this guy's not fucking around. He went over a monster body of water just to get here.
Yeah, it's like, this guy's insane. Yeah, no, definitely. I think it does it both ways. Like when you go to Europe or when you go to any other country and you're from somewhere, they like take you pretty serious, you know,
Yeah.
probably more serious than they take you back home. But then when you get back home, they take you more serious too, because you're like, they kind of see like, oh, this guy's bleeding for this stuff.
Yeah, international traveling artist.
Yeah.
You know, absolutely. You know, and I do feel, you know, a little different. But what parts of, so you were saying that you were kind of going in Mexico, you were traveling through Mexico, like were you all over, was like close, got it.
Mostly, I usually go down to Mexico just to play in Mexico City.
Okay.
So far, I'd like to play in Guadalajara, but it's never been. Set
It's
up.
never happened. So, yeah, that is, you know, I wrestled in Mexico City, right?
Oh, sick.
Yeah, so that was back in the day when Art Barr and Eddie Guerrero and
yeah.
Rey Mysterio Jr. But
What?
even me, and I was just basically enhancement talent in the business for 2 years going there. They're like, hey, this guy is from America and he's here. And they was just like, whoa.
Wow.
You know, now it might not be the same, but back then it was just like, well, how did you even get here? Like, what are you doing? Like, you're going to ply your trade and do, again, the same thing. Like the fans, like there was a run-in and Art Barr, you know, who's going his love machine, was getting beat down and they saw that I was with him.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, well, he's going to run in. So they're like, get in there. Like, get in there. Like they thought it was like a shoot. But again,
Okay, I
because they
need to
just,
interrupt the podcast for a second. I fixed the thing. We have an image for Jesse now.
oh yeah, let's do it. Let's see it. Oh,
There we go.
Perfect.
there we go. That is
I've
perfect.
met him.
All right, so reintroduce
Oh, you did?
yourself. So you,
Yeah, once.
what is?
Oh.
You did meet Arnold Schwarzenegger?
I did, but it wasn't like set up or anything. I saw him walking down the street in DC, and my dad was like, "That was Arnold Schwarzenegger," and he grew me up on his movies. And I was like, what? I was like in 6th grade. I don't know how old you are at that age, but I chased him into a cigar shop and I like walked right by his security, tapped him on the shoulder and was like, I love your movies. I was so little. And he like shook my hand. He was like, happy holidays. Cause it was like around Thanksgiving.
Oh, that's so awesome.
Yeah,
and you know
cool.
that's a shoot because you said cigar shop and you see Arnold with anything on BTS. He's always talking about the stogies.
Yeah.
I've told you Arnold eats at the Rudy's down the street here.
Oh yeah, you did tell me
Right?
that. Yeah.
Yeah, his investment firm is right down the street.
What?
And so he stops at this Rudy's right here and gets barbecue, and he puts it on like his social media. It's the best gas station barbecue you can get.
That's
Kind of
amazing.
thing.
Of course he does.
Dude, and you Austin's becoming like the run in town, the bump in town. I mean, we just did a segment talking about Night of the Living Dead, and Mario had a smoke story with George Romero. And now you're talking about, meeting up with Arnold Schwarzenegger, and you were just telling us when we were off the air that you just ran into the Undertaker.
Yeah, actually, my where I do work at this place called Monk's Jazz. I like help run the venue. The owner, Colin, he's a good guy. His brother is actually the owner of Juiceland, who's like a big company here in Austin. But yeah, Colin started a Monk's Jazz, and like for some reason today the Undertaker is there, and I don't know why. I'm not there, but he is.
Oh man. Well, I know, yeah, because he lives in, I think he lives in Westlake, right?
Yeah,
I
I
know
heard he
he's
married
always
somewhere.
the most.
He lives right down the street from here. We could go to his house now.
Oh, you could just
If
pop
you want
in
to go,
there.
we can go. Yeah, Undertaker's like right down the street. They got his picture up at the laundromat down there.
Really?
Not the laundromat, the dry cleaners.
Oh wow! I think the most Austin story that I've ever heard was Undertaker Airbnb'd his house to Brad Pitt and Angelina Jolie because he had a wrestling ring in the yard and they wanted the kids to play in the yard.
What? That sounds crazy.
Oh, did our audio go?
I like it.
Oh, there we are. Okay.
That's funny because I was like when I walked in, I was kind of telling you guys, yeah, like one time I met Stone Cold Steve Austin too, like, and it was kind of like what Mario just suggested. Like me and my friend, I don't know if you know this, but Stone Cold Steve Austin lived in Bernie for like in the early.
I think I did feel like I heard that.
Like late '90s, he lived there. He was in his prime at that time. He was like fighting The Rock and doing
Oh,
all this.
yeah.
And that's when me and my friend were really into wrestling. We were like in elementary school. We were really into it, and we saw him once at HEB. And I talked to him there. I was like, "Oh, we love you. Like, we love Stone Cold." And then his mom found out that he lived on Sisterdale Road, and we just straight up went to his house, knocked on his door, like 2 6th grade kids, knocked on his door. He came out with like he was wearing white underwear, like like not boxer briefs, just straight up
Tidy
underwear.
whities.
Tidy whities. He was looking confused at us, but we had his action figures, and he signed them, and then. He was really nice
Oh,
to
wow.
us.
That's
and,
awesome.
And then he like closed the door and he was like really nice. And then we saw he had a pit bull and we just started running. Yeah. And like ran all the way to his mom's car and that was the end of it.
And that was, but just that he let you knock on the door and sign that stuff is
Yeah,
pretty.
he was cool.
Especially at his height there too. Because I met him at 2 different periods when we were wrestling.
Wow.
Was the first time is the episode Corpus Christi of Young Rock last night was actually the night I was there, and the big scene that they did there obviously was not me talking to The Rock because I was just enhancement talent, but it was Stone Cold meeting The Rock when The Rock was Rocky Maivia, just Dwayne Johnson, but Stone Cold was the ringmaster, and he still had the blonde hair, and he still looked like Stunning Steve, and he was a lot friendlier back then. But then later on, when I went back for another shot, and it was like 1998 when he was Stone Cold, he sat in his truck the whole night. And he really didn't interface with anyone. He just basically hung out in his truck. And I think at that time it's just because he hit the peak of his stardom. And then just people were just, he was so in demand, whether he was in the back, come here, come here, come here. And he's just like, I'm just going to sit. And I think he's talked about this on his podcast before. It's just like he was very, like he was trying to withdraw at that point because it just became very, very overwhelming. Because he was as big as Hogan
He was big.
Yeah, right. I mean, people knew, especially his stuff with The Rock. So I saw that little bit of that transformation. So
Wow.
to hear that, like he knocked on his door, and even though he's in his tighties, whiteies, and said, "Screw it, all right, kid, come here. I'll just go sign this for you."
Yeah. Yeah, dude, it's crazy. It's amazing that you work with all those guys. That's insane.
Oh man, yeah, I was thinking about that. Somebody asked, I was like, "Oh, that's the night you were telling us you met him in Corpus Christi." And I was like, "Yeah, that was 26 years ago."
Wow.
And it's just like, in case anyone's wondering if the donkey wheel is broken in time, is not working. I can confirm it is truly broken. Do you know right now in Ethiopia, it's only 2014?
Is that accurate?
That is accurate. They basically thought that this calendar that we were using was a work, and they stuck with the 13-month calendar.
Wow.
So it's actually 2014 in there. Wow. And there's people out there that kind of did the math, and everyone knew that was December 21st, 2012. That was the Mayan calendar that said, that's when they were going to have the Great Reset.
Yeah.
And guess what day that December 21st, 2012 falls on, according to the Ethiopian calendar?
What day?
December 31st, 2019, when shit got reset with the big C.
Wow.
COVID. How crazy is that?
That is crazy.
Yeah, so look that up. But yeah, apparently that calendar is like a shoot calendar. And there's also that building that it's like a little monastery that people have to guard it 24/7, 365, and they're never allowed to leave that post, but nobody knows what's inside of it.
That's crazy.
And apparently the rumor is that it is the true Ark of the Covenant as seen in Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Wow.
So
Before we get too far away from Young
yeah,
Rock,
I know we're getting
I need to
deep.
double back to Young Rock for a second.
Yeah.
From Ark of the Covenant, I need to pull it back to professional wrestling for a second.
Yes. Go for it.
I'm gonna Jesse. I'm gonna tell you something because Jeff's not gonna say it. I gotta put Jeff over on the show. So they were doing Young Rock the other day. You know that show, Young Rock?
No.
It's about the Young Rock, like his coming up in wrestling. I guess I haven't seen an episode, Jeff. What is it all about?
It's basically, so it's the future. The Rock is running for president, and he's doing these candid interviews, and he's basically talking about how he got there when he's a president. It's like 20, 30 something. So they flashes back to 3 periods in his life: when he was a little kid growing up, and then when he was in college, and then a little bit older. So there's 3 different versions of the Young Rock as they're going over his story. So
Wow.
They have The Rock is actually on there, and he's getting interviewed by Randall Park, playing himself, who's now I guess an interviewer of people running for president. And yeah. So
Anyway, so like
They show his
they're
football
doing
days,
they're
yeah?
doing an episode about Rock's first match.
Oh.
Right? Was it his first match?
it was his very first match ever.
Very first match, and it happened in Corpus Christi, right? And Jeff was there.
What?
Yeah.
Jeff was in the locker room. Jeff was hanging out with The Rock when he was nobody, whatever. And then, like, we were joking about it the other day, and because, like, Jeff's gimmick, what was the deal with the pants? Like, what was the gimmick?
So the whole thing was, Earl Hebner, one of the evil twin referees, of just like do something that they will remember you, or because they're not going to remember you just if you're a good wrestler. So I was just like, every wrestler goes out there in tighty whities. So my mind instantly went to loosey gooseys. So I basically got these giant pants were the complete opposite of tighty whities. It was this loosey gooseys, and they look like genie pants. So I wanted to be memorable.
That's cool.
Yeah.
So he wore huge pants, and we have the audio clips of, like, Vince McMahon talking about how dumb his pants are. Like, it's like, it's like a thing.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It's great.
That sounds amazing.
Anyway, so he was joking about it or whatever. And then when we were showing the episode is on, and it's Young Rock, and it's Rock's first match, and I don't even know the plot, but it's like whatever. He's nervous, obviously. And in the background of the shot is a dude with giant pants.
Yes.
What?
Yeah, and somebody actually sent me the picture, so I did save it. So we'll throw it on the
Remember.
close-up cam here.
Legends are remembered.
It's like he might not remember my name, but he remembered the pants. So yeah, there's actually 2 different guys in pants, and that would have been me because I was just enhancement talent, and they were not even addressed in the show.
That's amazing.
But no, and I tell people all the time, I was just like this. I watch him on social media, and the conversation that I had with him that night, he was just as genuine then as he is now. And that's how you know it's not a work, right? He's so grateful that he was basically poor. He had nothing. Everybody was broke at that, but he came in there broke. And I just remember it was just like, my career was about to end. Even though we're the same age, I was kind of going in a direction that I'm leaving, and he was just coming in. He's like, "Oh, you're from Long Island." I was like, "Oh, you should announce yourself that you're from Strong Island. I think that would be better." And it's just like he was talking. He's already like throwing these ideas, but you can tell he's just talking to the guy. Yeah, he's very nervous, so he's talking to the guy that he didn't know, because apparently in the show, and and this is stuff that I didn't see. Like, Triple H was there, and they were kind of busting his balls, and Michael Hayes, who I've wrestled. Yeah, he's actually the guy who got me booked on that show, and he was kind of busting his balls too. So he was just making like small talk with the guy that's in the big genie pants.
That's so awesome, man. Wow, that's crazy. You walked among giants.
Yeah, literally. Oh, and I think that was also the night. No, this was a different night. I think we were talking about walking among giants. You saw Undertaker, how huge he is,
yes.
right? And Kane's just a little bit bigger,
yeah,
right? Kane
wow.
is a little bit bigger. And then it was a show that Shaq was there, and Shaq towered over those two. So it just made me feel like a midget. Because it's just like they're towering over me, and then Shaq is towering over them.
Wow.
So yeah, it was. I saw a lot of crazy stuff in the locker room there, man.
I can't
a lot
imagine,
of crazy
man.
stuff. But
I can't imagine. That's awesome.
but with traveling, and it too, when you're on the road, when you're traveling and plying your trade, doing your craft, following your passion, crazy stuff happens.
I wanted this spot
Yes.
to come up. I wanted road stories. That's exactly how this is supposed to be.
Yeah, and I was going to ask Jesse, like, we've heard a lot of my wrestling stories. We've talked about it. We all have the road stories. You got to have some crazy stuff that happened to you, whether it's before a show or while you were performing or after a show. There had to be. What's one that really jumps to mind?
One that jumps to mind is one time in Europe, sometimes it's weird because like there's different ways that they go about touring, like especially at the level of like underground music. But like it's weird because there's this like culture of like there are promoters who really do promote shows of like up and coming artists and artists who aren't they're not just huge and famous. And so I would go play like rooms like 100 seated rooms, and they would get like 50, 100 people in there, and it varies from country. And I remember they were like, we're going to fly you to, I think it was like some part of Romania. And then I was supposed to be easily supposed to get on a bus and get to this college town. That was like, they were telling me this is how you do it and blah, blah, blah. Well, I got off at the wrong place on the bus, or I missed my stop because I was so tired that I fell asleep on the bus.
Oh.
And I woke up and realized I was on a bus not like past the town that I was supposed to get off and meet the promoter. And I just panicked, and I just like asked the bus guy, like, hey, can you stop? And like I was in the middle of nowhere, Romania, and he just like couldn't communicate with me very well, and he just like left me there.
Oh no.
And I was like in this town with like my keyboard and my equipment, and I was just like, holy fuck, like this is rock, I'm done, like this, I'm gonna die here. And then I basically, some really nice person like came and helped me, and they were like, oh, it's really simple, and they just like took me down the street, and I got on another bus, and then like within like 20 minutes I was in that town. And then I played like one of my favorite shows I've ever played, where I was, and it was like the opposite experience of what I just experienced, because I was like, in that moment I was like, whoa, like I don't feel very professional right now. Like this is fucked up, like, but then when I got to the town, the promoter picked me up and was like, so sorry. And he put me in, like, I was already put in this really nice little Romanian small little hotel, but it had like this garden, and he had all this coffee, and they had everything ready for me. And then I went to the show. He took me to the show, and it was a great venue, and like such a live and like vibe there. It was like, it reminded me of Austin. Like all the people were really cool. All the Romanian kids were like really hip, and they're all like really into the show. And yeah, I played one of my favorite shows ever, but that was like so fucked up.
Just get in there. Talk about, far away from home. And then you
Yeah.
just get somebody out of nowhere to help you. I mean,
Yeah,
we
so
talk about simulation theory here. Do you think your avatar sent somebody there for you? He's like, we can't leave him in the middle of nowhere. He's got stuff to do.
Yeah, I
Let's
hope
send
so.
somebody.
I definitely feel like you probably experienced this, like just the road like has like sometimes is really giving me hope in like humans, I've had so many people be so good to me when I'm so far from home. So
Yeah, no,
always
it's
cool.
absolutely true. You have the generosity of people just like finding a place to keep you fed, get you drink, a place, a roof over your head instead of sleeping in your car. I mean,
Yeah.
you do experience that on the road. It's pretty cool. We have a question there in chat. Have you ever played the Milkweg? Melkweg.
Have you ever played the Milkweg?
Milkweg.
No, where is that?
I might have to go to the Google machine.
Jason, what's a Milkweg?
Yeah, Milkweg.
Yeah. That's
Wait,
cool.
is that an instrument or a place? Did I say
Or
that?
is it? Oh yeah, is it an instrument or a place? We don't know.
Yeah.
No, it's in Amsterdam.
We'll follow up.
It's in Amsterdam.
No, I've played in Netherlands once, but it was in a small town. I forgot the name of it, but I'm going back to, I think I'm playing in, I know I'm playing in The Hague, and then I think I'm going to play in Rotterdam in September.
Dude, that's awesome,
So
man.
I'll be there in the Netherlands. I want to play
Jesse,
in
write this down. Is that an instrument or a place? It's a game show.
Dude, I mean,
Oh, Jesse, our guy on chat.
Oh, okay, cool.
Not you. I don't expect you to write anything down right now. You're just
he's
on
like,
the
wait,
podcast.
why you giving me homework, man? I've really
I meant
always,
JJ.
I've always had that kind of envy because I love going on the road, and we joke around about like starting like the band, but you know, Mario, like, and we've experienced it, right? That feeling on stage doing karaoke in front of is the closest we've ever gotten to like being a musician to get that pop, you know. And we've done it, right, Mario? We've gotten pops on some duets. I mean, Mario belts it out, man.
Really?
Like he
I bet.
belts it out like Elton John. And I mean, he just like, it's powerful. And I see him like just like start to really like control the crowd. And you know, as an artist and whether you're wrestling or music or performing, the whole idea is all eyes on you, whether it's they're booing or they're cheering, but you're eliciting an emotion, right? And that's what music does. You kind of get that adrenaline when you're on stage that happens. And then when you're done, you're just like, it like disperses. You get that feeling.
Yeah, it's hard to talk to people after a show. You're just like,
Yeah.
people don't understand it, especially when you're traveling. Like they want to ask you so many questions, and you're so burned out from like traveling, and then your lack of sleep, and then you just like release so much emotion in your show, and then it's like almost your mind is just like gone blank, and then everyone's like, then they come with the questions, and you're like, whoa,
Yeah.
you know, it's hard, but it's fun too.
I think the closest I can think of is the scene of Will Ferrell in Old School when he was like rattling off when he was in that debate team, and it was just so beautiful, and he just got it off, and when he was done,
Yeah.
and he just passed out. And I mean, that's the closest you can get. Like you're just like,
Yeah.
you're putting so much emotion into that, right? If you ever get in like any kind of argument or anything, that when you're putting so much passion out there, it just there's an energy drain, and you got to replenish it for
Didn't
sure.
you tell me you needed somebody to help you change your tire after a match or something like that?
I did, yeah, because I was just like so shot, and like I was done, and for whatever reason, like obviously all the big stars had multiple people doing it, but it was like in Pennsylvania, and it was like snowing, and I was just shot, and I was like, oh my God. And there was just 4 people like, oh, hey, you're that guy that was wrestling. You had those big pants on. And they're like, and they were basically like, can we show you some of our moves? And I'm like, sure. So like they actually like what we like to do, that same move you do where you do a split leg moonsault, but we don't have a ring. So I do it on my car. And I'm like, wait, what? It's like you just jump on your car and you bounce upside down and flip to the pavement. Like, oh, yeah, it's fine. Let me show you. And I was like, and my car was not great. And I'm like, yeah, you can use my car because I wanted to see it. And I'm like, and it's fine anyway because my car got a flat tire here. So I was like, oh, no, we'll change it. Don't worry. But let us show you some of the. So they're just wrestling in the parking lot with doing me all these moves in the snow. And they're like going through like a simulated match. I'm like, man, that's great. You guys like, and we haven't even been trained. This is all stuff that we just made up ourselves. I'm like, awesome. They're like, anyway, we're going to change your tire for you. You just relax. I'm like, cool.
That's the road, man.
Yeah, that's the road, man. Like you just said, it's just like unreal. But yeah, Mark, I forgot I told you that story. It was just like, wow. It just brings out the best of people being on the road sometimes.
That's amazing. Yeah, that's cool. Definitely like crazy experiences.
Yeah. So, well, and I think we all know this. It is May the 4th be with you. Right. And
yes,
Jesse, we do weird beers. Sometimes we do some strange hooch. So we're going to be doing some in honor of Star Wars Day. Are you a Star Wars fan?
Big time.
Big time,
Yeah,
so-
and more so
You are a Star
now.
Wars fan. I didn't realize that.
Yeah, and more so now than ever, to be honest.
Yeah.
Like my dad grew me up on that. Like really, my dad was like, I don't know what he must have been smoking a lot of weed or something because he was definitely showing me and my brother some crazy movies when we were young.
When you're
Yeah.
once you weren't raised, like, oh, it's art.
Yeah,
Don't worry,
he's
it's
like
art.
Terminator, it's fine. We were like, what, Dad? But yeah, like I love Star Wars, and like honestly, I've always been into it. But I feel like the show Mandalorian has gotten me more into it. And,
Yeah.
you know, I was really into Boba Fett, but like, man. Obi-Wan looks sick, and
Oh,
honestly,
man.
I've had to do some self-reflecting on my own shit lately, on some personal shit, and I realize now I'm like, this sounds cheesy, but Yoda's like, he knows it all, man. Like,
Oh, man, no.
like, you know, the whole like, you know, fear, being afraid of something definitely can create anger, which can create hate, and then that,
Jesse, did
like,
you see the trailer today?
to the Obi-Wan?
Yeah, the new Obi-Wan trailer came out
no,
today.
I haven't.
Oh,
seen
should we do a live
Neither of
reaction?
us have seen it.
What?
I think we should do a live reaction. I
Should
think
we do a
should-
live? Okay, how
I
about
think
we
should-
watch it now? I'll put on the please stand by. And we'll watch it and come back on.
Yeah, and then if we're watching at home, definitely watch the trailer, and then we'll be right back. And we'll have
So
a live
cue up the
reaction.
trailer at home. We're gonna watch real fast, and then we'll come back on.
Hang tight.
BRB.
We're back.
Hey,
The thing.
everybody.
I don't think this is the way shows are supposed to run, buddy. Okay, we're back from watching the Obi-Wan trailer. The Obi-Wan
Wait, you got to do it
series.
right. You got to set it up right. You got to.
Alright, well, how's it? Okay, how to do it?
Hello there. Got to do the hello there.
That's the Obi-Wan line.
Yeah, you got to do the Obi-Wan line. I mean, unless you want to pat. You were my brother, Anakin. I loved you. It was said that you destroy the Sith, not join them. Dude,
That looked insane.
it looks incredibly cinematic. And, you know,
Yes.
there were some, at the end of Boba Fett, there were some questions of just like, oh, did they kind of piece this together? This looks like this is balls to the wall.
It's like it almost looks like they were working so hard on this they didn't really like pay too much attention.
Yeah,
to
they just kind of squeezed in. It was like, okay, let's finish it.
We need a
'cause
buffer between like something, you know.
I've told you my theory. They shot Boba Fett in the back parking lot of all these other things with the leftover props.
Yes. And I think, dude, if you
believe
watch
that.
it, it's pretty solid. It's a pretty solid theory. But, and Jesse, you can confirm this for me. To me, this is the most important piece of Star Wars content that's been released. Top 3 easily.
I would agree.
Right?
Yeah, I mean, like when they face off in the very first, or not the very first one. Yeah, there's so much mystery. There's so much story.
Yeah,
there.
where that's coming from. So actually having that a rematch. But you would say Empire Strikes Back, you knew there's just like, wow, how are we going to follow that up? And then the waiting for Phantom Menace, you know, waiting from 1983 to 1999, that was super important. And then you had the sequel trilogies of The Force Awakens. That was super important. And this is where it can be argued of which ones were successful and which ones failed, because I think each one of them has its detractors and it has the ones it loved. But now is this one. This is the one, not even for the OOGs like us that are part of the original trilogy. This is going to be the one that finally people are going to acknowledge the people who do not, and I repeat, do not hate the prequel trilogies by bringing back this important character other than Anakin. Anakin, Luke, who's more important, not named Skywalker, Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Oh, for sure.
Right?
For sure. Definitely. I mean, he's like he shapes a lot of the stories that go on and everything, you know? He's a big core of the whole story.
And people were a little, obviously the sequel trilogy really, really triggered more. To me, I think they triggered more people than the prequel trilogies did. Like, people were really triggered by Phantom Menace, but time has been very friendly to that prequel trilogy, where people now have Revenge of Sith as one of their favorite Star Wars films. But these next ones that came afterward, right? The Force Awakens, The Last Jedi, and The Rise of Skywalker, it's divided this fandom to bring out this vitriol of basically almost a studio versus this one set of fans versus another set of fans. And then Mandalorian came along and won them all back. Won them all back, and they rediscovered their fandom and everybody loved it. And then Boba Fett, people were like shaky on it. I don't want to say they disliked it, but they were very shaky of like, this beloved character was supposed to be silent. You gave him too many lines and he had a lizard up his nose. And people were a little shook by it. Not that they didn't like it, but they were a little shook. This one is the big one. Now there's just going to be like, this would have been what you're going to capitalize on, that Mandalorian love and that prequel love, and to kind of disperse that sequel trilogy hate. Do you agree about that?
I could definitely agree. I feel like it's like they're going to be pulling out a lot of little magic tricks and things that they were like, oh, we've been waiting for this.
Yeah.
And I bet they, while we're on the Star Wars thing and talking about music and touring, one of the craziest things for me on tour was when I played in Vancouver in like 2000, it was 2000, I don't remember, 2006, I don't know, 16. Yeah, 2016, the Star Wars effects team were at my show.
Oh, wow.
And they were, I hung out with them. They were, they were some of these guys were from Mexico, actually, and they were all, the venue I played was this really nice venue that was across the streets from the Disney effects studios. And one of the guys I was out there talking to, I was like kind of fanning out on him, geeking out, and he was like, "Oh man, I made the sword that killed Han Solo in the new ones and stuff." He was like, "I did that, I made that sword and everything." I was like, "What?" The lightsaber or whatever. But yeah, definitely, I think that this is going to be huge. Like, it's going to be, everybody's freaking out about this, I think. I saw a guy today in the falafel place, and I was like, saw his shirt, and I was talking to him, and he was like, he almost looked like when I just brought up Star Wars to him, I felt when I left, he was like, "May the Fourth be with may the Force be with you."
Like, you knew he gave you the nod.
Yeah, it was like he felt connected to me. I think all Star Wars fans right now are like, yes.
I think this is uniting even the people, the Star Wars hate, or people are just like waiting with bated breath, because Obi-Wan could be maybe Obi-Wan was the chosen one to bring balance to the Star Wars fandom force. He's going to be, maybe he's going to be the one that brings balance, because you being a musician, you have to appreciate how powerful music has been to the Star Wars franchise as a whole.
Definitely.
Right?
Yeah, I think John Williams is coming to Houston, or they're going to do the John Williams score.
Oh, yeah.
Pretty
I heard,
soon in Houston.
Yeah, and I heard that he was actually coming, because he said he was retiring, but I heard he was coming back for at least one of the episodes to score some of the stuff from Obi-Wan.
Oh, wow.
And
Yeah, I think I heard that too, actually.
That's got to be pretty big. But I mean,
Wow.
We were kind of laughing earlier. We were listening to like even the songs that you would consider silly, but they're not, because they're iconic and they have so many different influences in there. Is the Cantina song?
The Cantina. Oh, yeah.
Do. I mean, that sticks with you. And if you listen, if you go on Spotify and listen to the whole song, it's like, wait, I hear a little bit of like a Caribbean flavor in there. Like they put a lot of thought into it. It wasn't just like, let's just put some beeps and bops.
Yeah,
and it's just like it really, the Max Rebo band really just put it out there.
Yeah, I didn't really pay attention to scores when I was like really, really young, but around high school I really started to, and then then I look up stuff on like Hans Zimmer, and these composers like John Williams and Hans Zimmer, they really care about the story.
Oh, yeah.
And they don't like just throw music in. Yeah, they're like, they really care.
No, they do. Yeah,
kind of
it's
awesome.
right. It's got to match. I mean, and they are a huge part of the success of that, and because they do care. And even he's the new one. It could be argued not only Mandalorian was great story, and Dave Filoni we trust. Thank you, Jon Favreau. Right, Dave Filoni sat at the learning tree of George Lucas and really understood like what this franchise really means, and like touching your heart. And I think that's why The Mandalorian worked. But I think another reason The Mandalorian worked was Ludwig Göransson, the guy who did the score.
Oh yes,
he created
amazing.
a whole different
the Swedish
vibe.
guy, right?
Yeah,
dude, he's on another level. Like, I mean, he's like 20, he's like 30 or something, or like 20 something, right? Or 30.
Yeah, he's very young, but it was incredible because like you came up for John Williams, and it's just very like sounding like a sympathy, but then he's using like a freaking Australian didgeridoo, and he's doing all this stuff. And I was telling Mario, it's just like, to me, that the Mandalorian theme, the dun dun
so good.
Dun, dun.
Yeah,
like, dude, that's just like it brings me back to like I'm watching like Planet of the Apes. Like I can feel it in my chest, and I'm like, man, that's really good. And you thought he was a one-off, and then Book of Boba Fett comes out, and then he's like, dun, dun.
That was
dude,
the
sick.
Score in the Book of Boba Fett flipped
phenomenal.
Me out. Like the voices, like.
Yeah,
it's just insane. And then
man,
it's crazy too, because that guy, like, I don't know if he started with this show, but he does the music for Community. That show, I've never seen it, but that's like one of my girlfriend's favorite shows. And it's like he's just like talking about how he made Community, and now he's doing Star Wars, just killing it. Like, and yes, like what he's doing is insane.
Oh, it's so good.
It's so good.
Yeah, and I was gonna ask Mario, just like on next karaoke night, I know we're just gonna be up there humming and singing it, but like we should just for a gimmick just do that song and just be like da 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 da.
Oh man, this guy.
Jay will pop the crowd.
Da da da.
You guys, man, wow, that was amazing.
Dude, it's just so good that it's just like I feel it in a chest. So having all of these pieces putting together, Disney's just got us get out of the artist's way. Like, look, it's just like everybody knows, all right, you're going to be the heel. You're the corporate, you're a corporate. You're just doing it for the money, whatever. They should be like, yep. And I'm going to get out of the way, and I'm going to let the talented people do what they do best. And that's like, let the performers, like the thought that Luke Skywalker, Mark Hamill, was warning the director, just like, I don't think this is going to get over. You should have listened to this man, because he's been a part of this. That's been his life. Like, he spent time, like, he couldn't be anything except Luke Skywalker. That he had to get into voice acting just to separate himself. But this man's been doing it since 1977.
Yep.
Listen to him if he says, this isn't going to work. I don't think the fan base is going to dig it. Just like art is about collaboration.
What did he say that about?
He said about The Last Jedi, but basically it's just like, you're having me. Everybody's been waiting a long time for me to come back, and they're expecting like Luke, who's just learned from his father's mistakes, and it's going to be a Jedi at the height of his powers, and then he turned him into like a recluse on the island, wanted nothing, the planet of Act 2 wants nothing to do with it, throwing the lightsaber over it. And then basically you never really got to see him in The Last Jedi go full bore. Like you saw, he used an amazing force power, that whole force transformation where he just threw his essence across the universe, right? But then he was gone. And it was just like, it felt like the worst case of cinematic blue balls, that it's like it didn't work.
Yeah.
And then like to prove that it didn't work, on the episode season finale, season 2 of The Mandalorian, when you just saw all hope was lost, the shock troopers were breaking in the door, all the heroes were trapped, they had no chance against them, and you see one little X-wing come up, and then like, oh wait, great, we're saved, and it slowly built, and then he went through and just cut through them. I mean, everybody, this is when the famous Star Wars theory was crying. I was crying. I was just like, we got to see Luke at full power, like what we expected to see.
Yeah,
that's what Mark Hamill was trying to say.
Yeah,
if you would have found that way to create that, I think it could be argued, and there's good parts and there's bad parts. I don't think it has the essence of George Lucas is what the big problem is. But listen to the guys who sat at the learning tree of him, right? And
also, like, I bet he's talked so many, like, had so many conversations with other people about Star Wars, like maybe he didn't want to, but I'm sure some people are like, oh, like this should happen, or what about this, or what about that? So he's probably thought about it a little bit.
Yeah, he had to have, right? And it's just like, and he says it himself, like he was going to Comic-Con before he was in Star Wars, like early Comic-Con, like 76, 75, when it was just comic books.
Wow.
Like he truly is what we worship now is like the fandom, the nerds of just like, that's who he was. And he recognized that, and not in an egotistical way. I remember watching him, there was like a BTS, and they were talking about the Star Wars Christmas special, which is like everybody's worst fever dream after a night of bad clams, and he was in the crowd, basically hiding in the crowd, and then finally he's like, I think that's a really underrated property, and everyone's like, that sounds familiar, and he just went there as a fan.
Yeah,
like he wasn't that getting paid, and he just wanted to talk about Star Wars.
Wow, that's passion right there.
Yeah, that is passion. So I don't know, I get very fired up about, but I mean, today's the day.
Up. Yeah,
today's the day, man.
To get fired up.
Today's the day.
Speaking of Star Wars,
yeah,
y'all were talking about Star Wars, right?
Yeah.
Yep. So what? Okay, so you have a drink for us today, you said.
I have a drink that I literally thought of on the way here. So we're going to find out live on the air how good it is. We're debating on the name. Jesse, you can break the tie.
Yep.
All right. So you're very familiar with Star Wars, so you're very familiar with blue milk.
Blue milk.
Blue milk. Well, green milk in the Last Jedi, but blue milk is what Aunt Beru gave Luke in New Hope when he was drinking when they were at the table, and then later on, young Anakin also was drinking that blue milk. Right, that's the Tatooine milk. So it's blue milk. It's very iconic in Star Wars. Cool. So I was like, we need an adult version of blue milk for weird beer. Yeah. For our weird beer segment. So I was just like thinking of all these there, and I went to a liquor store and started talking to him, and then it was like brainstorming. I had my Star Wars shirt on. I was representing. I'm like, we're doing this for our show. You should watch it later. We're going to make a Star Wars drink. I never did this before. Yeah. So this is going to be, depending what you vote on it, the milk of Mos Eisley, blue milk of Mos Eisley, or Mos Eisley milk.
Oh. Okay.
Right, Mos Eisley, right? That is the where Han shot first. That's where Obi-Wan found Han Solo, and he introduced it. Old Obi-Wan, Alec Guinness, said, "You will never find a more wretched hive of scum and villainy." And then that's when it was like do 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 do. So
it's like a place of criminals.
Yeah,
right?
It's basically a bar, like the Deadpool bar, where you go for your hitmen and your bounty hunter. So
this is a drink for space criminals.
Yes, it's a drink for space criminals.
Cool. This is what the criminals.
Yeah, and we're gonna make it live. I've never done it before. Do
you need a break here, or what do you got? What do you need?
I'm gonna go get the drink because I'm gonna introduce the where my mind was at, and then we're gonna introduce it, and then we're gonna make it live, and we're gonna see how it tastes.
Okay, let's hear from Stroh's real quick.
All right, Stroh's is for Bro.
But it's lovely the way you make me feel like I'm wanted. Thank you. So here's a toast. Most beer lovers know from
beers have always had a problem taking their beer with them. The first take-home packs were bulky, hard to keep cool, and getting out one beer at a time wasn't always easy. Today, real beer lovers have the Stroh Case, a sealed carton that stores 24 cans of Strohs, goes anywhere, and serves up one cold beer at a time. The Stroh Case.
You've got a thirst to win. Only one soda gives you that extra oomph you need to be your best. Oomph Cola, packed with ginseng, taurine, and Pop Rocks. With the power of Pop Rocks and Cola combined, your stomach lining will be ripped apart by tiny pockets of carbon dioxide. But not before Sweet Victory, Oomph Cola, and Pop Rocks. The deadly soft drink with a taste that's fantastic.
Okay, so space milk for criminals is really complicated to make. Takes more than 3 commercials, but we're coming back in 3, 2, 1.
Something. Here comes some of that blue cow. So, but I found this sucker right here because guess what? It's kinky.
Oh.
I don't know if you can see. Well, I'll give you a little tight.
I can see that, yeah.
Side
There you go.
tilt
Turn. Yeah. There you go.
Kinky. So this sucker's blue, but here's the thing: what's going to make this
Wait,
drink?
how did you hear about? I've never heard of a blue drink called Kinky. How did you
Me
hear about
either.
this?
So I went in there and was like, "Hey, can I get some of that blue cow?" and the lady, she's like, "What are you trying to do?" And I was like, "You see my Star Wars shirt? We're trying to make some blue milk." Oh, she's like, "Oh, I got a drink for you. It's kinky." And she's like, "I like kinky." And I was like, "Whoa, what's happening here?" I was like, "Okay, maybe later after a few Mos Eisley milks we can talk." But this
So
one's
let's read.
powerful.
What does that say? A cool blue fusion of wild berries and mango.
Yes.
I bet there's more in it than that.
Yeah, and she said it's a lot stronger than the blue cow. So it's a lot powerful. So
17% alcohol by volume.
yeah,
Okay, so you're mixing alcohol with alcohol?
yeah, so we already got a double. So you're about a halfway there on a Long Island iced tea. But the good news is that's it for the alcohol that's going in there.
All right.
So
God.
I think I'm all right. Ingredient number 3. I was tired of my lady. We've been together too long. If you like pina colada. Right there. I just went the pina colada mix. Oh, wait. That's
Just straight up.
yeah, just straight up pina colada mix.
Straight up pina colada mix.
Yeah, just the mix.
No frills. Not even a label.
No,
Oh, wait, no, it does have a
it's
label.
kind of there. Yeah, there it is. So that's going to be the representation of the milk that's in there. So it's going to be 3 ingredients. So I'm going to show you the 4th ingredient, but I'm calling an audible because it's just too gooey. So it's just like, I remember I was telling you it needed to be the Caribbean Queen.
Oh, I have a replacement item for this if this isn't going to work out. Because, yeah, show the... It's just a can of...
Cream of coconut.
So it's just... What's in it? Pop the lid off.
I did.
But show the folks
Oh,
what's
yeah,
in it.
it's goo.
What is, it's just goop?
Yeah, it's just goop.
What is happening?
Yeah, it's just goop. I was like, oh, speaking of Star Wars, that looks like the cave that Luke was hanging in upside down. Look at that. So, yeah, it didn't really, I don't think it's going to work. And I put it in a cup, and I was like, maybe it just needs to, like, thaw or something. And it didn't work. And my friend who introduced me to the kinky drink, she said, it's going to leave too much texture. So she said, don't mess with it. So we're going with the 3 strict ingredients. Oh, you got one. Oh, yeah, we can do the coconut water.
There we go.
Oh, you know what? Jess, we're going to hook you up here. Because here,
Cool.
I found this out by accident at a Jimmy Buffett concert. So coconut water cuts the bite out of any powerful, whether it's rum, usually a clear drink, the clear liquor. So rum, tequila, or vodka. When you put coconut water in it, there's something about the enzymes in there that cuts the bite.
Oh.
So the shivers that you get afterwards.
Yeah.
The more coconut water you have in there, the less shivers you get. But the problem is then it's like there's a reason why we have pain receptors, because we need to know when to stop.
Yes,
this takes away the pain receptors. So you're like, I don't have an arm, but I'm fine. So we're going to go easy, but I'm going to make this here live on the air.
Cool.
And again, since I didn't eat dinner either. So we're going to go, our friend here. Are you familiar with Poncho's, the restaurant?
I've never been there.
No.
Put it in the shot.
Yeah, put it in the shot. Yeah, sorry, I was always trying to build the. Yeah, you know this guy.
Oh yeah.
That's Senor Pancho. So he's going to be holding the hooch, And then
So are you making 3 prison milks?
I am. Well, I'm going to make 4. We got 4, right?
Oh, right, because AJR is in the studio,
Yes.
too.
AJ, what's up? Yeah, we didn't give him the shout out, but he is here. He doesn't have a mic, but he's about to have a drink. So, all right, we're going to go slow. We're going to go easy because, again, this is liquor on liquor.
Are you going to make it in the close-up cam? Or
I'm going to make it
on
in the
white-
close-up cam. Yeah.
Okay.
I don't have a shot glass, so I'm going to do... I did, believe it or not, when I was wrestling, I also did go to mixology school, and the trick was that you're supposed to count 2 seconds, and that's a shot.
Okay.
So we're going to try it. We're going to start off with the Parrot Bay 90 proof. Should I make one big one? No. And then split it? No, I should probably make 4 little ones, right?
I don't know.
I feel like we should
How
do
about a little
more.
intern music.
Yeah, let's do 4 little ones. All right, so I'm just going to do 1, 2. That's a shot. 1, 2. That's a shot.
Are you what? You only have 2 glasses.
I got 4.
Okay.
Got one that's holding the ice, too. All right. I'm going to go heavy on the coconut water and the pina colada mix. Everybody's good with coconut, right? All right, so now we're about to get kinky. Here we go. 1, 2. 1, 2. All right. I'm going to put the tops on because I'm inevitably going to knock these over. All right, so far, we're halfway there, living on a prayer. How are we feeling about the amount of alcohol in that cup? That's about...
Looks like a lot.
It's about a double.
You should remind people to like and subscribe while we're doing
Yes,
this, too.
you should like, subscribe, and share if you're a fan of drinking a double with Senor Pancho. All right, so I'm going to cut the bite with some pina colada.
That's a lot of pina colada mix.
Dude, yeah, we want to cut the bite, right? And it's got to be milk.
I need to see your mixology degree.
Well, I didn't, plus I didn't do
You
the
have the
stir.
small one that goes in your wallet.
I didn't do the stir yet. But we want it to look like blue milk. Oh, man. All right, let's use this.
Oh, wait, you are going to use the coconut fuzz.
All right, so I went a little bit light because I don't want to like be that person like home mixology drinks and then everyone's like, oh, like you made me blind. I can't see right now. So, all right, that's not blue enough for me, but I think we get the essence of it. So I'm going to let you guys, I think these aren't going to be as strong. So I'm going to bring these over. And then I'm going to make 2 more. Are we good? Is that like blue enough milk? Do we want more blue?
I don't know. How blue is the milk supposed to be?
It's supposed to be, it's about that. I mean, actually, it read better on the camera than it did in my real life eyes. That's reading blue.
Yeah.
All right.
All right, I'm going to bring them over.
And coconut water's in there, too.
Oh, yeah. Let's get some of that. Let's get some of that bite in there.
Let's not
Oh,
forget
AJ,
that.
yeah, thank you, man. That shouldn't affect the color.
Yeah, clear. Yeah, I need that.
Yeah, we need the cut. And feel free to not drink the entire glass. All right, AJ, you're gonna hook me up. Thanks, man.
So
right.
this is because of Star Wars.
Blue milk Star Wars. All right, I'm gonna make 2 more. So, again, the history of it is the first time we saw the blue milk was Aunt Beru. Mm-hmm. And then
Jason says it's not blue enough.
it's not. We need more. Well, here's the thing. The more blue, the more it's gonna punch you in the mouth.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But it definitely doesn't have the... I'm going to go bluer for mine.
Oh, man.
Oh, sorry. It's not in the... All right, let's see what that one looks. And then, AJ, I'll whip you up one, too, here.
Oh, that's pretty blue.
That's bluer.
That's kinky. All right, there we go. That's it. Avengers, assemble in my glass. Let's see if we can get a side.
Just for context, Jeff ate a spoonful of Brock Lesnar seasoning the other day.
All right, we got one more coming. And then I think they're just going to be really sweet. And I'm actually in kettle right now, so I'm probably about to knock the shit out of my ketosis, but that's okay because it's for the arts. So just make sure again.
You think this has carbs in it?
The sugar? Yeah, I think so, man.
While you're making those, are you guys gonna watch any Star Wars tonight? If so, what?
I think I'm gonna watch. I saw that the Gallery, which is like their BTS show of all, like the Mandalorian had basically a gallery episode for each one, which is their BTS, and I think they just released the one for Boba Fett. Ooh. So I think I'm going to watch that BTS just because I know there's we were talking about a lot of people that were angry about how that turned out. So I'm going to watch that just out of curiosity because we're Robert Rodriguez fans here.
Oh, yeah.
So we kind of want to see like what all went into it. And maybe we can add some context.
Cool.
AJ, you want to come grab yours, dude, and this one's ready. And again, just don't feel free to not drink the whole thing. All right. So I have a feeling. I feel like Scott Baio's cousin in Bad News Bears Breaking Training. And I was like, I thought you said you were a good pitcher. Shitty mounds, no rosin. It's just like, all right. So this is our weird beer, blue milk edition in honor of Star Wars. So salute.
Salute.
Salute, you guys. Here we go. Yeah, we needed the food coloring. All right, here we're going to go.
Right. Prison milk.
Prison milk, scum and villain. It smells delicious.
Nice and sweet.
Oh, that's a hit. I'm thinking that's a hit.
That is nice. Yeah.
What are you thinking, Mario? I know you don't like sour beer.
It's pretty sweet.
It's very sweet.
It's pretty sweet. It's like a bubble. It's like
bubble yum.
There's it's like a bubble of sugar that enters your mouth and it just it doesn't break.
Oh wow!
If that makes sense as a drink description,
It could be dangerous.
Yeah, that could be very dangerous. AJ, what's your thumbs up, thumbs down? What's your vote? You like it?
Yeah, thumbs up.
So let's see if you can get on the close-up cam. I'll see if I can do this without
So
spilling.
the question is this milk of Mos Eisley or Mos Eisley's milk?
Yeah, what's the vote here? Or do we have to have the term blue in there? Wow. Can you get a close-up now? See, I think it's getting a little bit more bluer. I'm blue, ba-da-dee-da-da-dee-da-da-dee-da. All right, yeah, that's good. So I think it's the kinky. I kind of want to shoot the kinky straight just to see what we're packing here.
Because that might just be the blue milk itself.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just the kinky.
It might just be yeah, because she said something about just putting it over ice.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so
Oh.
that could be it. I don't know.
Yeah.
I do feel like I can see this like bubbling in a lab too. Mm-hmm. I forgot to put coconut water in mine.
Oh.
You're just drinking straight
Yeah.
2 mixes?
Oh, wait. We got a winner. JJ just broke the vote with a name that's better than all of them. And the winner is, this drink is the Milk Eisley. Boop, 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 boop. Or you can do the Bill Murray version, right, from Saturday Night Live when he was the lounge singer. Star Wars, nothing but Star Wars. And how about those Bar Wars? That's like iconic, but then again, that was the 70s. I think it needs kinky in the name. It's a kinky blue milk.
Sidebar, my friend texted me last night and told me he was in LA at a Mexican restaurant and Bill Murray was sitting next to him.
Oh, that's the dream.
And I texted him back. I was like, what is he eating?
I feel like he's like a chili dog guy or something, right? You're going to just like straight up eat it like a
No,
chili
it's
dog.
ceviche.
Oh, I can see him eat ceviche.
He's like, no. Man, that'd be cool.
I don't know if this falls under our weird beer segment or if you still want to do a weird beer, but we had to do a Star Wars drink, and it is now. JJ, congratulations. That is definitely the Milk Eisley. And I'm going to make this for people, and I'm going to just say I've been drinking it for years, even though I made it up on the car ride over here. Stopped at the liquor store.
It's super good for a drink made up in the car ride.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And I think if I was if I was in the zone and I actually started like doing the measurements like a proper shot and cut it right, I think we can make. But dude, this is, I don't know how others to say it. Like this is gonna get people ready to party.
Yeah.
I think this is gonna get people
like
ready
if you
to
introduce this to like college kids, like
oh my
bad
god,
things
yeah.
could happen.
Oh
you know?
yeah.
Really bad
I remember
things.
the drink back in the day was the purple motherfucker. Everybody would go to Stamford, Connecticut and get the purple motherfucker.
What is that?
I think it's basically milk Isley, but it was purple.
That was like a big drink in
Stamford, Connecticut.
Stamford, Connecticut.
Stamford, Connecticut, yeah.
So you'd go get a purple motherfucker. Was there like a limit on them, or people would just go get them and get super?
I
hammered,
think
or
it
what?
was a limit, but you do the gimmick of just like, yeah, one for me and one for my friend over there that you can't see. Yeah, because that's the Long Island iced tea, which I had an Ybor City incident with Long Island iced teas when they're like, you really shouldn't drink more than 2. And I'm like, 1 more. And I don't remember how I got home. I mean, I know I didn't drive, but I also don't know who brought me home. Yeah, so
wow.
Ybor City is for pirates. I guess Ybor City would be the most Isley of Earth. And here's the question, and this is just for both of you. Did it bother, like, let's talk about the stuff that bothered people in the sequel trilogy of Last Jedi, Rise of Skywalker, and Force Awakens. I think Force Awakens is less disliked out of all of them. And then there's a lot of people that just straight up hate Last Jedi, which I thought it had a lot of great scenes, and I loved the throne room fight. But I do understand what they were talking about. But one of the things that really bothered people was they turned the blue milk green. Like, why? Like, blue milk is iconic. Like, why would you just change that to green milk? And remember, Luke squeezed it right out of the space cow's tit. Like, it just like drank right from there, and he's like, and he had it like in his beard. Like, what? Like, at that point, I feel like you're just trolling, right?
Yeah.
Like, yeah, you got to get blue milk. Make it green.
Yeah.
Why? Because I'm the director.
Yeah. No, actually, I would think, yeah, it has to be trolling. Like maybe a little bit of like, oh, you think you know everything? I have the power to change this, so I'm going to. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And Rian Johnson, you know, he like Knives Out is a great film. I love what's the one with Bruce Willis and when he visits himself in the and Looper, yeah, Joseph Gordon-Levitt. I mean, that was a Rian Johnson too.
I didn't see Looper, but Knives Out was great.
Yeah, and there's a sequel coming, and it was well beloved. So I just think, Mario, you say this about a lot of films, and I think this would be true. Oh, JJ said, got to go back to Baby Acapulco's, Baby A's in Austin, Texas, and the purple margarita or purple margarita.
No, it's see what you call a purple motherfucker over here. They call a purple margarita.
Oh,
they tailor
okay.
it because we're South
Yeah.
Texas.
I would call it
But
like
it's just the same purple mix.
Barney's ball sack. No, but going back with like Rian Johnson, I mean, his stuff was like really beloved, and Knives Out, I mean, it was a great film. So I'm not sure. Oh, I was saying, Mario, you said this a lot. There's a lot of films that you said this was okay. If they would have just gave it a different title, it would have been fine. You said that about the remake of RoboCop. They should have called it Drone Man. They should have called Dawn of the Dead. You said they should have called it Mall of the Dead, and it would have gotten less heat on it. My theory is, if you would have just called this In the Star Wars Family, but kept the Skywalker thing out of it, would that movie be as hated? Like maybe Luke is another Jedi that escaped Order 66 and didn't have to put somebody's legacy on the line. What are your guys' thoughts on that?
About?
The Last Jedi.
Oh,
The Rian Johnson one.
I honestly have no issues with that movie. It's fine.
A lot
I
of
think
peop-
that one just the internet heat spiraled out of
It
control
did.
for it.
But I think it's not
It's
because
not the worst. It's definitely not as bad as the last one. It's kind of better than The Force Awakens in some ways, but it just, I don't know. It was a little uneven, I guess, but I didn't really have any major heat with it.
actually George Lucas said that was one of the ones that he was okay with because he felt like it took chances and the other ones didn't. They played it safe. But I think, again, it was more struggling with the legacy that you had very important characters in there that mean a lot to people. And when you don't treat these people right, it's almost like somebody coming up and smacking a sibling. And that's what I think it felt like to a lot of people. Personal. Like, I remember the fear of just like when Sylvester Stallone was talking about, yeah, well, eventually I'm going to have to kill Rocky. He's going to have to die. And I was like, wait, what? No, Rocky can't die. Like, you can't die. And it's just like, yeah, people die in real life, but it's like, yeah, but I don't want him to die in my entertainment. It's like, so I think the issue is just the way that they treated that Luke character. But you're absolutely right. If it was just like, if Luke wasn't in there and he was just some random old Jedi that was trying to help this girl find herself, I think it would have got a lot less heat.
Probably. And it's weird too, because Star Wars is at such like a high level that at this point they're just kind of competing. They're competing with themselves, you know. It's like hard to, like, compared to like any just random movie that came out, you know?
Right?
It's like those movies would have just been like on another level. But yeah, that's a good point. Maybe it would have been cool if it was just some mysterious like Jedi that no one knew about or something.
Yeah, and just leave it be. But you're right. That man, that well said. It's competing with itself, because it is like automatically. You're not worrying about the casuals. You're worrying about the people that like memorize the Bible, you know, like messing with people. Don't mess with someone who's talking about Star Trek if they speak Klingon.
Yeah.
I mean, you should listen to them, because they're the ones that are really, you know, they're going to be there no matter what, but they can make or break your stuff. But, and you're right. I think Rise of Skywalker was the answer to try to fix things. And by then it was too late, but why wouldn't you just have this trilogy all the way booked out? Like Marvel, I mean, Kevin Feige is in a freaking, like a bungalow right now, you know, planning the next 10 years of Marvel. Like, why couldn't you just book out 3 films, man? It's just like 3 scripts. Even just jot it. George Lucas had a treatment for 3 films and they didn't take it.
Wow.
Which is crazy to think about, but...
I just want you to know, while you're talking about Star Wars, YouTube is actively trying to spoil Doctor Strange for me.
Oh, man, no.
It's just shooting me videos that say, here's the ending.
Oh, gross.
Here's the post-credit sequence, in case you were wondering what happens after the movie.
So, Jesse, I got to tell you, this isn't a Star Wars story, but I'm very anti-spoiler to the point where I think it should be at the minimum a misdemeanor, just because I was sitting in a Mexican restaurant in New Haven, Connecticut, and... This was 1999. Before I go on with this story, has everybody seen The Sixth Sense?
Yes.
Okay, cool. So I'm just sitting there. I had no idea. The movie came out at the same time that another movie with Kevin Bacon that was very similar to it. And I'm like, okay, I'll get around to it. And then somebody just this loudmouth guy, I'm just sitting at the table and was just like, oh man, I just had no idea the guy was dead the whole time. And I'm like, what? And his wife like smacked him, like, what did you do? And I'm like, I had thought nothing of it. I'm like, oh, that sounds a little interesting. Let me go watch it. Yeah. And as I continued to watch this, I was like, this person ruined film history for me. Like, he ruined it, like just on a casual just thing. So ever since then, and I got spoiled on Star Wars. So as I made sure, like right now, my social media is shut down because I don't want to get spoiled on Doctor Strange. Yeah. I did the same thing for Star Wars Force Awakens, which I'm assuming everyone saw. We're talking about it. Yep. And I went to see it, and there was a little bit of a wait, and I'm like, I'm going to just jump on Instagram real quick, and I'm going to look at, it's like a hashtag oddly satisfying, where it just shows like people like squishing paint and all this stuff that's like oddly satisfying. I'm going to do that, and I'm going to kill the time. And I'm looking at one of them, I'm like, oh, that's cool. They were just like squishing these markers, and it's squished everywhere. And I and I don't even read comments. And I glance down at the comments, and I see Han Solo dies. No. And I'm like, what the fuck? Are you kidding me? I just literally threw my phone on the table, and my son's like, what's the matter? I was like, shit. I've been good for a whole week. I even downloaded this Google Chrome extension of like stop spoilers so I wouldn't see anything that was Star Wars, and I opened it up and it was a random comment. So I did like any other rational person would do. I went into his Instagram account and I reported every single one of his pictures as inappropriate.
Oh my god.
Yeah, you have no choice.
Yeah, I have a very I get very heated when it
Man.
comes to spoilers because I've had incidents.
I could kind of like tie that around to a tour story really quick.
Yeah, go for it.
Because like once in Chicago, the guys that let me stay with them, they're in an awesome band called Joan of Arc, very big Chicago legends. And like the bass player was like, I was really young. He was like, man, you should stay at my place. You know, you don't have a place. I mean, I had a friend there, but I was like, yeah, I want to stay with this guy because he's in a great band. And they let me watch the last episode of like, what is it, the Survivor?
Oh,
And
yes.
I don't remember what season it was, but they were like going to sleep and they were like, yeah, you can just watch whatever. And I was like, oh, I'll just watch this. And it was the last episode of this whole season. And then in the morning, I just told them what happened. I was like, oh, yeah, this guy won. It was crazy. And they're like, it looked like their hearts dropped. Oh, they were just like, no, why'd you like do that? And I was like, oh, I don't know. And like, I was all confused. And then I realized now I'm like, oh, I was doing like, I totally ruined that for him.
Without even thinking about it.
Yeah, not even thinking about it. Anyways.
You know, it's funny you say that because Survivor, the first season, the one where Richard Hatch won, that was the only season where a publication accidentally ruined it because the magazine came out early and it was a taped one, and people were furious because they didn't realize how passionate people were going to be about Survivor. As you found out the hard way, people were fired out. So ever since then, after that, they had to gimmick it, and the people who were on the show couldn't find out who won because they would do the vote and they say votes are done. We'll see you in LA. And then he would do the gimmick where he'd run through the woods and go on a helicopter and stuff. And then they would fast forward to like 3 months later. But for 3 months, they would have no idea if they won. And that was all because Survivor Season 1 got spoiled.
Wow.
So now there's just like, you have these people that are playing for $1 million. Like, cool, good game. Who won? Tell you in 3 months.
Wow. Wow.
So yeah, the Survivor camp there, that show's been on for 22 years.
That's insane. I didn't know.
2 seasons per year.
Wow.
And I've watched a lot of them. It's one of those shows that you can kind of jump in, jump out.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I usually watch one if there's like a celebrity or like Johnny Drip Drip or, from, WWE. Now he's not WWE. When a wrestler's on there or football player's on. But
Nice.
yeah, that was another.
I didn't even realize that they had people like that on there.
Yeah, they had every once in a while they'll sneak one. They won't do. They've had a couple of full celebrity survivors like Celebrity Big Brother, but they have some that sometimes they'll just have one. Like Jimmy Johnson from the Cowboys was on there one season, and it's just like I was never a Jimmy Johnson guy, but after watching him on Survivor, I was like, that guy's pretty cool.
Nice.
It's like this crazy, like he's literally coaching his team to like victory on there, and he actually did really well.
What? That's awesome. I remember him.
Yeah,
He had a little stint with the Dolphins.
he did. Yeah,
Yep.
he had a little stint with the. Are you a Dolphins guy?
I was a Dolphins guy.
Okay, yeah.
And they lost a lot
Yeah,
in my
no,
childhood.
it's painful. I'm a Jets fan, so I understand,
Ooh, yeah.
I understand what you're saying.
yeah.
I feel the pain. So I know. Sorry, no. We always do this on the show. We'll be on the super highway and we'll end up on a dirt road. We started off with blue milk, and here we are talking about the Dolphins.
The Dolphins and the Jets.
Yeah. So, being a musician, Darius Rucker. I don't think a lot of people realize that he was such a big Dolphins fan that he actually put that lyric in his song.
I didn't know. What lyric?
I'm such a baby, 'cause the Dolphins make me cry, 'cause there's nothing I could do.
I thought he was talking about like the Dolphins that end up in cans of tuna by accident. Because if you throw out your 6-pack wrapper thing and it chokes the
Oh,
Dolphins.
yeah. No, you can't do that. I cut them. You got to
Yeah, you
cut
gotta
them. Or
cut
you got
'em.
the plastic ones or you cut them.
'Cause the turtles.
No, he was not. Yeah, the turtles and the Dolphins, man.
That's messed up.
Yeah, if you watched Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, the dolphins are important, man. Don't put anything around their snout. Plus, they fight sharks.
Yeah, they're important.
Yeah, they're a very important part, and it could be argued that they might be wiser than us. And speaking of Star Wars, talking about Dex, Attack of the Clones, I figured you Jedis would know the difference between knowledge and wisdom. Obi-Wan, baby, I'm psyched. Sorry.
Oh, I know. Oh, man. It's going to be big. May 27th, right?
Yeah, May 27th, a double drop. We're getting two episodes. Yeah.
What?
Yeah, we are.
Oh, that's like a movie, basically. Mm-hmm. Oh, my gosh.
So we don't want to let you go when we start talking a little bit about, obviously we're marked for pro wrestling. We talk about pro wrestling. We talk about Star Wars. We're culture pops. Oh, yeah, the music had Dan Marino in it in the video, the Hootie video.
Oh, who did
Darius
the
Rucker.
Blowfish?
Yeah,
Oh.
Darius Rucker. Wow. And dude, okay, before I go on to this next Russia trade dolphins for intel in the ocean. Oh my God. That is actually accurate that they did train them to get intel like they were spies, dolphins. Not the players, not Tua Tagovailoa.
Yeah.
No intel there, but yeah.
Wow.
Oh, what was I going to say? I completely forgot.
All I know is I was a big Dan Marino fan as a little kid.
Yeah.
And he never won a Super Bowl.
I know, but he had that hype that it's almost amazing. He's like the pro wrestler that you can't believe they never had the world title because everybody knew Marino.
Yeah.
Everybody knew Marino.
Everyone did.
So it's almost incredible that he didn't even get like one.
Yeah. It is.
I mean, but hey, man, I hang my hat on Broadway Joe. You know, we got Joe Namath. You can hang your hat on the 1972 Dolphins being the only undefeated team in history. You met the Undertaker. He had a streak. It was broken. The Dolphin streak was not broken.
And it never will be.
No, I don't think it can be now.
Yeah.
This is like the whole debate with like Jordan of just like, you know, is LeBron better than Jordan? But back then when there wasn't many, like, there's so many people that are good. It's like the first time somebody beat a 4-minute mile, then a second person did it, then like 10 people did it. Mm-hmm. Now I feel like there's people that we don't realize that they could be on Jordan's level.
Yeah.
Like now, if we're talking pound per pound for everybody at their peak,
Definitely.
there's some, I mean, it's very debatable. I mean, if you were some kind of like epic Egyptian god and you were doing like a comic book where you're just bringing all the superheroes to fight at their peak in one planet, you would do that with basketball players. And I guarantee you there's a lot more people that would give Jordan. I'm not saying Jordan was greatest of all time. I'm not saying he's not. Mm-hmm. But I'm talking about like skill set.
He would have a hard time guarding, Steph Curry.
Right?
He'd have a hard time banging with LeBron on in the inside.
That's what I'm saying. He would have a bunch of other Jordan-like players that he would have to battle.
I like Michael Jordan and I love LeBron, and like I always tell people, I'm like, Michael Jordan, he played like 6 Hall of Famers like in all his finals, and like LeBron's played like 20 or something. It's
man.
It's like insane.
It's crazy to think that the talent pool has really just truly risen.
Yeah.
That you would see them battle. But that's a great stat. I had no idea that battling that many different Hall of Famers compared to now versus then.
It's crazy.
Yeah,
basketball's fun.
It's a fun sport to watch, and it's a fun one to watch live. Mm-hmm. I was actually the last Knicks game I went to was pre-COVID, like a week before the world shut down. If you have an Ethiopian calendar at home, this was probably December 31st, 2010 type it, but. I was there at the game that Spike Lee got thrown out for fighting with the referee.
What?
Yeah, and he tried to like sneak through the back and like, I'm Spike Lee, and like, no, you can't come back here. And I saw them down there like arguing.
Damn.
So it's a fun sport to watch, man.
Probably in the Garden too.
Oh yeah, I went to the Garden and saw it. Yeah, I had to fly back to see that. So
what happened to what was up with Oakley, man? They like tackled him or something.
Yeah, I don't know exactly. Yeah,
that was weird.
It's again one of those. Oh man, that's like that's probably a whole show by itself of just like
where that came from.
Don't you know who I am kind of stuff, and just like profiling, and it's just like, man, it just goes to show, a lot of unconscious stuff that happens in people's brains. Mm-hmm. How are you guys doing with your blue your milk Isleys?
I've taken a couple sips.
Yeah,
I keep sipping.
So my camera's dead.
Oh, your camera's dead? Mm-hmm. Oh, man.
Yeah, we've gone over the 2-hour time limit.
Oh, man. So is that a wrap?
I think that's a wrap.
I think that's a wrap, unless we all wanted to like crowd around and share a camera. So, Jessica, thank you so much for coming on here. And thank you so much for the music. I'm Not Fucking Dead. I mean,
Can't wait.
I think if you find, like, you knew the vibe that Mario was going for in Oomph Cola. Like you got the assignment, you read the notes, and like I said, it's amazing that the thumbnail actually captures your face. Like you had the assignment, and if you're gonna basically, so you have that instinct, and that instinct's gonna kick in audibly where you're gonna create some music, and we know how important music is to the film.
Yes.
I think we're gonna win it all. I think we're going to win it all, and we're going to be able to win it on your music. And let's just road. We're talking about, we might get a flight, we might get a friend to fly us, but we can also road trip, and we can have a road story as we just drive to Memphis. That's only like a 10, 12-hour drive.
Easy.
Have a few Milk Isleys, and we'll just fly. We'll just hit hyperspace to get us out of here. So thank you so much for doing that. And yeah, we're going to have you on our future editions for sure.
Awesome.
Great in-studio guest. Thank you, AJ, for helping us too out with the show. And thank you for Mario for just battling these technical issues. And we still had a solid show. So we're going to be back next week. And by next week, we're going to have Doctor Strange in the brain. And we're going to figure that out. And we're going to talk about other stuff because we always talk about cool shit because that's what we do. All right. So until then, something. Do. Oh, yeah. I meant to say, Chewie, get us out of here. Damn it.